Welcome to Legacy Cast, your source for hearing from top influencers, industry experts, and successful business owners who are telling their unique story about life, values, goals, business strategies, and the various causes they are so passionate about. Future generations will come to be impacted by what is happening today, whether positive or negative, and our mission is to focus on what is going to affect change for the better. Hosted each weekday by James Snow, a former U.S. Army combat medic, now founder and principal advisor of James Advisors Group, a full-service financial planning firm in North Texas. This is Legacy Cast. Welcome, Legacy Cast listeners. This is your host, James Snow, coming to you from my Legacy Cast bunker here in North Texas, and have a very interesting gentleman here, a veteran buddy here from the North Texas area, Alex Fender. And he's got a couple different things going on, both with his business and also with a committee that he's part of that I certainly want to give him ample time to talk about, because it's something especially for veteran business owners, which a lot of the listeners here of the program are in fact veterans. So, this is something that's going to have, huge value for you guys. And so, on that note, I would like to welcome Alex to the program. Welcome for being here. Thanks for being here, Alex.
Thanks, James. Semper Fi, and thank you for having me.
Good deal. Good deal. Got a Marine Corps veteran, so that's awesome. My oldest brother was a jarhead, so I recognize some of the lingo. I was Army, so we do the HUA thing instead of the Semper Fi, but I'm bilingual, so I understand some of your jargon.
Well, it's okay. Not all or the Marines used to say Army stands for ain't a real Marine yet. So I'll teach you and bring you up to speed, James, as we get to know each other. I'm sure your brother showed you a few things along the way too. But it's always good to with fellow veterans and service members.
Yeah, he was recon, so you can imagine the razzing and all the enjoyment I had growing up.
Oh yeah, you had the brotherly love going, but then you also had the inter-service rivalry going at the same time. So I bet he piled it on you pretty good there.
Oh yeah, quite a bit. But I'd throw the crayon jokes back at him, so it was all good. So here with Legacy,
my favorite color is red.
Oh, awesome. Well, I'll actually have a question at the very end, custom designed for the Marines. So, I'm glad to have another Marine on here. It's been a little while, so I get to ask my favorite final question. So here with Legacy Cast, we try to talk about things, obviously a legacy is kind of your story told your way. And so it's very important that people understand, what's involved in legacies. It means something different for everyone. So that's part of what I enjoy bringing on here with different guests is there's going to be a different perspective. Mine being a legacy does obviously have a financial element, but that's not the only thing, because it's also educational, it's intellectual, it's what are we doing that's going to make a difference in the community, and who are we coming in contact with, how are we impacting them, and in turn how are we helping them to become better people for having known us. Those are the things that are all involved in a person's legacy. So, like I say, it's your story, and it's a very deliberate thing. So, Alex, when you're thinking about legacy, now obviously you have a business standpoint and also things you're doing in the community. So, when you're thinking about a legacy, how would you say that you would define that? What does that mean to you?
Well, with a legacy, it's how people remember you once you've left. And so oftentimes people talk about what legacy are you leaving or what seeds are you planting now that are going to be here after you've left this earth. And so when I think of legacy, there's few people in history that have made such a huge impact on their legacy, but Genghis Khan is one, Alexander Great, David, the story of David and Goliath from the Bible. Right. There's people that have left their legacy or mark on humanity in history that perseveres through time. And so Right. That's what I think of as it relates as a legacy, not so much the financial impact, but either the the evils that you've done and left behind and people talk about, or the good deeds that you sowed while you're here.
Yeah, I'm glad that you pointed out, the good and the bad, because, a lot of people don't think of it, in those terms, but that is the reality of it, is that, a legacy is, how you're impacting or how you're influencing. And at all times, there's always somebody watching, there's always someone listening. And so you're impacting people one way or the other. And so that's why I mentioned that, it's a deliberate thing. You have to be very deliberate in what you're doing with your legacy, because that is going to carry on. People, like I say, they are watching, they are listening. And so do you feel, Alex, that it's something important that people actually spend time contemplating, what their legacy is?
I absolutely do, because the legacy that they're building should be a part of their plan. And so they should have a planned execution to roll out, and they should have or they want to make sure that they're not seen in a negative light. So that should go into planning. And also it should take shape of meditation, right? Just
sure,
taking all the distractions out from the world and just focusing in on that. And so I think it should be something that people think about not just once, but daily, often, many times a day. One thing that I was taught in my undergrad by Professor Belcher, he was a Marine Corps pilot in Vietnam, and he became a financial planner. And one thing that he had mentioned was about every time he sees a penny, he stops down to pick it up. He's never too busy to pick it up. And this was in one of his class lessons. And he held up the penny and he said, "In every penny, it says, 'In God we trust.' And this is just one way to know that you can trust in God, because he's giving you the most smallest blessings there at your feet." And his point further was that you shouldn't pass up these small blessings, that you should pick them up, and you should, one, thank God, but then also, if you're so willing to pass up a penny, then why would God put $1,000 opportunity in front of you, or $1 million blessing in front of you? If you were too lazy to pick up that one penny, then why would God, waste the opportunity on a bigger on it? So that's how, one of the things that was taught to me on building the legacy, each day that you go by, that you don't skip over the blessings, that you're aware, you're paying attention, but that you're also executing a plan. And the plan doesn't happen over a year or a couple years, but it's going to happen over a lifetime. And that's how you're going to be measured in the end, is not based on these single events that we do, or maybe your 8 years of service in the military. It's going to be the collective lifespan what you've left behind over that time. That's how I see a legacy taking shape.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I do like that analogy, because that's a very literal sense of how things are, and how, you mentioned blessings. That's how blessings become, is that, we're given small blessings, and what we do with those, we're stewards of everything that we receive. And so, what we're doing with those small blessings are then going to come in a very real sense as larger and larger and larger blessings. So, and also a person of faith, likewise, I see very much, how God will do that in our lives, because, just as you were mentioning, with the penny, why would we receive more if we're just going to pass up the little things and not cherish and honor those small blessings? How could we expect to get large ones? So I appreciate you bringing that up, especially early on, because that sets up kind of a tone for our podcast in a way, is sort of putting into our minds the very real and very intentional and very deliberate things that we do. So thank you for bringing that up. How do you correlate into your particular ventures, your legacy plans? I mean, how's that fit in to what you do as a business, or even the community you're part of?
Well, the first statement on my LinkedIn profile says, "I aspire to leave the people and places I visit better than I found them." And so each and every day, there's just certain things that I do along the way to try to make them better, like picking up trash. When I talk about picking up trash, like I live in off of Lake Ray Hubbard, and on Rowlett Creek, there's a ton of trash that comes down. I call it the lake trash. and I'm down in there in my waders up to, mud in my chest, and I'm picking up trash. And then I have meetings with my customers, and I run funnel science. And funnel science, one of our goals is to help increase the sales and marketing performance for our clients. So a quick snippet, I helped a client the other day. My whole team did. It wasn't just me. It was my company. And he said to us, if we couldn't help him, that 10 of his employees were going to lose his job. And they had tried to fix this with Google for 4 months, and they couldn't, when we were able to fix it in just under a week. And so sometimes leaving your legacy is helping people that, they just needed genuine help. And then other aspects of helping people is just sharing, in telling people where the minefields are at and helping them avoid going down the wrong path. And sometimes people don't want to listen. Sometimes people have to take the path of the University of Hard Knocks or the path of Hard Knocks. It's because they're not ready to listen yet. And so sometimes you need to share with people, hey, you may not want to do that. You're setting yourself up for failure. And then recently through a Facebook group, went out to Fort Worth and helped a veteran and his wife. They needed help moving. So me and some vets just went and volunteered and helped this guy move his stuff. So try to be real active in the community, but in different ways. I don't have just one dynamic to it. And then the other part of the community is just sharing when people are doing a really good job. There's a group called Boot and Shoot. They do a sporting clay tournament. They raise a lot of money to buy houses. So that's one that I've been a part of for several years. One as a volunteer. Two, I help with just getting the word out and getting veterans signed up as teams. And then I'm also by teams and shoot on the Boot and Shoot. So that's another example of not necessarily leaving my legacy, but that's helping somebody else with their legacy and their mission, and it comes full circle to the veteran community.
On that note, you mentioned the different events and organizations and what have you. And before we came on, you were kind of touching on this is the Small Business Administration having a special committee for veterans, and how so few veterans are actually aware of this. And in fact, I was not fully aware of this particular committee either. And so, I'd love for you to spend a few minutes here and kind of dig deeper into that group, the purpose of the group, and what all is going on there, because a lot of the listener here of this program are in fact veteran business owners. So this is going to have a lot of value and a lot of relevance for the people listening in today. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think it's really important that people need to know what their government is doing for them and what their government tax dollars is doing. And one of the things, so every service member, it's required by law, when you leave the service, you have to go to TAPS class. You remember going to yours, James?
They didn't have that when I got out back in '92. That wasn't in existence yet.
So that's a shame, because a lot of guys get out and they don't know what is available to them. So now they have transition and transition assistance program is what it is. It's a 5-day course, and there's on each of the 5 days there's a different aspect of it. The SBA holds boots to business. So if you're leaving the service now, you're going through TAPS, and you're going through one thing that the SBA oversees. So the Small Business Administration, it's headquartered in Washington, D.C., and we meet quarterly. It's open to the public, and it's an interagency task force on veteran small business development. And the advisory committee is there. It's by law. It was created in 1953. It's a cabinet level, so it aids the federal government, and we're to assist and protect the interest of small business concerns. And we're there to preserve the free and competitive enterprise, maintain and strengthen the overall economy. And the SBA's purpose is to start, build, and grow businesses and to recover from disasters. So the advisory committee, it's formed of 15 members. There's 8 members like myself that's a veteran that owns a business. And then there are 7 committee members that are